being a victim to my life, to my story, was only bringing more opportunities to become a victim. When I recognized that space, I said, what if I started changing my story on my terms? What if I became the literal and figurative author of my story and then started showing up different?
Welcome back to another episode of Voices of the Goddess, where brilliant women come to take a break from their successful and sometimes overwhelming lives to level up, live free, and create abundance.
If your hectic life has you feeling a bit lost, if you're building your career, brand, or business, or if you simply want to get the most out of life, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Julietta Wenzel, founder of Body and Soul PT and Soul Candy.
And I'm your co-host, Graciela Laurent, professional portrait photographer specializing in boudoir and personal branding.
Whether you're relaxing with a cup of coffee or running around town, we've got you.
Whatever you're doing, thanks for bringing us along and sharing a laugh.
Here comes the magic.
Good morning.
Good morning, Vietnam, or wherever you are.
Right? I don't know if we've had a listener in Vietnam, but there are places that track all that stat. So I might be motivated to go look on the map and see if anybody in Vietnam has ever listened to us.
Who knows? Maybe. After all, we're all the same worldwide. So
I was totally blown away. I mention this all the time. Like, somebody in Mongolia listened to us.
That's phenomenal. Like, how they even found us, I have no idea. But it's all good, and I appreciate you. And thank you, Mongolia. And yeah. So over the weekend, my family and I watched The Game Changers. Have you seen that?
No.
So my friend Vicky, who is subscribes to the whole medical medium stuff, you know Vicky, right?
She's my friend too. She was my friend before she was your friend. I'm sharing her with you.
I'm talking for our audience. Okay, just bear with me. So audience, not Julia.
She was also a guest on the show.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's cool. Oh my gosh, I have to go back and listen to that one then.
Yes.
Anyway, the point is she recommended this movie, Game Changers, and talk about game change. I watched it with the whole family, and at the end of the day, what it is that it shows how eating a plant-based diet increases high-level athletic performance. And if it can do that for high-level athletes, imagine what it does for you, right? And so they literally they showed it in 10 different ways, right? Like taking your blood and then showing you the literal grease that's in your blood and, all this kind of stuff. But I'm laughing because, I have a client who's an what's the word? An ophthalmologist, but he does surgery, an eye surgeon, I guess is the right word. Anyway, and he was talking about his ideal clients, for cataracts and things like that. And he goes, most of my clients are boomers, some Gen X. And I was like, whoa, Gen X? I got to start worrying about freaking cataracts. Are you serious? Am I this old? Wait. So then back to Vicky. And for those of you that are watching, I'm just going to show you. So Vicky gave me all these phenomenal supplements, right? And it's vitamin C and barley grass and spirulina. And here's a fourth of what I'm supposed to be taking.
Raise them higher so people can actually see them.
Can you see that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, girl, let me tell you. And I'm not a super pill person. So I'm just I can't, this is my life now. This is and it's great. And I love it. And I'm so happy to be, because I want to feel alive and vivacious and vitality and all of these things. And I'm but isn't there an easier fucking way than taking all these supplements?
I know there is, and it requires a different kind of work. But you look at, you love the Blue Zones. And if you've watched that series on Netflix, those people aren't taking vitamins. They're not taking spirulina. They're not. So there's lots of different ways to achieve the same outcome, and you just have to pick the one that's right for you. But talking about, being older, this weekend, I did a training this weekend, but I was sitting in one of my meditations, embracing the fact that I am officially in the crone stage of life. I am.
Mm-hmm.
I am a crone.
Define crone for the audience.
Well, crone, I'm no longer able to bear children. I've passed through that phase of life, and There's the piece of you that goes, oh shit, I'm old. And then there's the piece of you that goes, yay, like I am fucking old. I have passed through all these challenges of life. I have so much wisdom in me now because of all of these things that I've been through. Like, crone is a badge of honor, and dang, I am good.
I love that. There's a saying in Spanish. Let me see if I can get it right. It says, más sabe el diablo por ser viejo que por ser diablo. Right? In other words, like, the devil is as smart as he is, not because he's the devil, but because he's so old, and it's just wisdom comes with age. You know what I mean? So yeah, I get it. Those are my qualifications. I have been around a long time. But I've always seen myself as an old lady, like always. Like, I have had a clear vision of what I'm going to be like when I'm 80. When I was 15, I knew I was going to have gray hair. I knew it was going to be long, so I don't know. I'm excited to get older, except for, this little bag of pills I got going on. You're right. If we, I guess either you get to live off the grid and like wash your clothes by the river, or you get to have a washing machine, electricity, air conditioning, and take the pills. So for right now, this is where I'm at. We'll see how life evolves. I'm open.
It's tough trying to have it all, isn't it? You're successful, super busy, mostly happy, but something's missing.
We know what's missing. Lean in. It's you.
It's the authentic expression of yourself.
It is time to uncover your true self and create the fulfillment, joy, peace, and freedom that you crave.
Introducing our life-changing retreat, designed exclusively for women who are ready to release self-doubt, find balance, and embrace their authentic selves.
Join us as we embark on a journey where the magic of Mexico will ignite your spirit and set your soul free, I promise.
Nestled in the heart of Mexico, the captivating beauty of San Miguel de Allende provides a magical setting for our retreat and a sanctuary for women seeking profound change in their lives.
Our facilitators will guide you through a series of empowering workshops, enlightening ceremonies, and rejuvenating practices, all carefully curated by us to empower you to let go of self-doubt and step into your true potential.
Each day you'll be surrounded by the warmth of like-minded women ready to embrace self-discovery and all of life's possibilities.
And what's cool is that together you'll form an unbreakable bond, supporting and inspiring each other as you navigate the path towards a more fulfilled and empowered life.
There's plenty of alone time set aside for you introverts so you can recharge and rejuvenate.
Amen. The retreat venue itself is one of a kind. Imagine a sprawling acreage nestled at the foot of a volcano. It also has botanical gardens, sacred spaces for ceremonies, and reflection.
It also has a magnificent dedicated spa room made entirely of quartz crystals, and a sauna and a cold plunge pool.
That's totally me. I'm in the sauna. There's even a therapeutic donkey living there. I'm so excited.
Can't wait to meet the donkey. Plus, every culturally rich meal is cooked for you. All you have to do is sit down and enjoy the experience.
I'm sorry, home-cooked meals in Mexico? Yay! So we'll also visit natural hot springs, check out the pyramids, do an easy nature hike, and we're going to explore San Miguel de Allende.
But the highlight of this trip is going to be Dia de los Muertos.
It is a time-honored tradition. City streets filled with painted faces. It's not just an homage to your ancestors, it's a celebration of the new you.
And it's all included.
Woo-hoo! So imagine coming back home and waking up each day knowing that you have the tools to create a life that brings you joy every single day.
And it's all within reach.
So the time is now and space is limited.
So visit our website at votgpodcast.com to learn more and reserve your spot.
I promise you, the journey to a more fulfilled and empowered life starts here.
We can't wait to create this magical experience with you.
See you soon.
All right, shall we bring on our guest?
Let's. Speaking of eternal youth.
Whoop, whoop. Welcome, Erika.
Hello. I should walk in by saying my back hurts, ladies. My back.
Come see me. I can handle that. And the other things we were talking about earlier off camera.
But Erika, you're just like the youngest and brightest and most vivacious person I know. How could it be? No puede ser.
Thank you. Just send me the invoice for that little plug.
She is, though, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. But first, I just want to tell you guys, like, this is going to be such a great interview because Erika truly is one of those people that always has the smile on her face. Not to tell you that she doesn't live a real life. She does. But man, when you see her, you feel good about yourself. So I am thrilled and excited and so excited to have you here. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell folks what you're passionate about and what keeps you passionate.
Thank you for that introduction. I'm excited to be here with you both. And so it's Erika Obando. I am now officially the president of TPE Coaching and Consulting. And I know Graciela is going to get into that in a little bit, but my passion literally, and it kind of has laced throughout my entire life, is helping people. And in that helping people, I also have to live that life. And I'm glad you said that I don't have a perfect life, because I don't. But I choose to smile at it even when it's imperfect. As a matter of fact, look, that's what my shirt says. Perfectly imperfect.
There you
right?
go.
That's the life that I live. So that's it.
And what is TPE?
TPE is a coaching and consulting business, but TPE stands for the pink elephant, and I should show it to you. I help I help organizations stop the ignoring of the fact that wellness is a conversation, a much needed conversation in the workplace, and you can't continue to ignore the pink elephant. But I say, give it to me so I can help you with those wellness solutions, and both parties can play nice in the sandbox, right? Both the employees feeling seen, heard, and valued, as well as the employer seeing productivity and just happy that they're there working for you.
And I think, at least when I was a kid, I don't think anybody cared if anybody was happy in their work. Like, you just went to work and you did your work and they gave you a paycheck, and like, that's all that mattered. And I think it's part of the evolution of humans to understand that, like, yes, we need to work, and work can be enjoyable. Like, it doesn't have to be misery and pain. And so I love that, that you're working on this, but also that we're talking about it, because that's how things change, is when we talk about it.
I just did I've done it several times, a presentation called Bridging the Generational Gap. Yes. And it's understanding, Graciela, you sat through that, right? It's understanding, how we evolved from what you just said, Julieta, because it's spot on. That people just went to work. They didn't question. They didn't, question authority or hierarchy. They just went to work, did their job, and went home. But then the digital era changed all that. And then now we have, newer generations coming in saying, wait a second, this can be done easier. This can be done much happier. And then they started breaking apart all of those existing templates and started saying, why don't we do it different?
And I love that. I love millennials. I love everybody younger than me, because they just have so much more. I mean, I'm just going to call it self-respect. Like, they just have so much awareness that it doesn't have to be like that. Like, yes, of course, as the daughter of an immigrant, I am probably hypersensitive to being grateful for every job that I have and being grateful for all the opportunities, right? And the American dream and all of those things. And also, millennials have taught me I don't have to sell my soul to the devil to have it, like, what? I get to be fulfilled, be grateful, and be happy too. That's amazing.
Correct.
We talk about, like, there's going to be this crisis because nobody wants to do any of the, like, heavy manual labor anymore. And it's like every generation that came before, that they're always like the one after, like, they're going to destroy everything. They're going to ruin everything. And okay, nobody ever has. Like, we all keep moving on. And I have, like, I used to, like, when people would say those kind of things, I'd be like, yeah, that's exactly, like, what's going to happen. Pretty soon, no one's going to have a flushing toilet because there's no plumbers to fix them. But I actually believe that they're going to figure out the solution to this problem. Maybe we won't need plumbers in the future. Like, maybe they're going to come up with the solution for all of these things that nobody wants to do anymore. So relax, everybody. It's going to get handled.
And I think we have to be careful with generalities of nobody wants to do, right? There are plenty of people doing, plenty. Like all of these tech, I mean, Erika, you tell me you're out there in the world, like all of these tech schools, they're full. Like it's not like they're empty. Like people are learning. And on social media, I've seen where there's even a push to say, hey, remember to tell your kids, like if they're not college bound, it's not a failure, it's just another path. Like electricians make a shit ton of money, right? Like plumbers make a ton of money. They're constantly in demand. Why do you think they're always overlapping their jobs? Because there's so much out there.
No, I like the fact that we're always in an innovative state, right? Every generation has innovated the next thing and the next thing. And the people who sometimes say, "Oh, this world is, going to be trash" or whatever, is the people who don't necessarily understand change, right? I mean, look at what happened with AI. AI came into the industry, and there were some people that were freaking out, saying, "Oh my God, this is the end of the workforce." And it's like, no, it's a very crucial tool that if you learn how to use it, that's where evolving comes in. That's where new things come in. And, we start figuring out how to be plumbers in today's world,
Yeah. Oh, that's what they said about the assembly lines too, right? The invention of the assembly line was going to, kill the workforce. Well, no, you just learned how to fix the equipment on the assembly line. Like, it's okay.
Well, and I think also people need to change how they speak and how they think, because our words and our belief systems create the world that we're living in. And if we want a better world to live in, we need to start speaking about it positively and believing about it positively. And we had this conversation as well. We create everything that we have. We've created this. If you don't like what you have, you need to change what you're doing to create something different.
In that same conversation, that's exactly what I talk about in the generational space, right? We can't blame the Gen Zers, Gen Xers, or because I'm a Gen Xer, right? But the millennials, we can't blame them for adapting to a world we handed to them. If the world is broken as you see it, we handed that broken world down to them. So there's some compassion that needs to take place in that we handed them something that needed fixing, and they're trying their best to try to figure out, as using the tools that they also were inherited, right? That they also inherited. So again, when we stop the blame game, I always say that it's so much easier to do this than this, but this is so much beneficial, because once you hold yourself accountable to a portion of it, then things get resolved, right? Then you realize that it's not about the blame game. It's about, how do I step up to the plate to help it work or fix it.
Well, and like my aunt used to say, every time you point like this, remember, you got a couple more pointing back at you, right? So every time you point out, don't forget the 3 that are pointing right back at you. Erika, you have such an incredible story, and I know it could take like 7 hours to tell the whole entire story, but give our audience just a little bit of insight on the things that you have gone through to get where you are today. We talk a lot on this podcast about limiting beliefs, and I find that the more we talk about it, the more people recognize themselves in the stories. So pick a point on your continuum, because you have such amazing life experiences, and tell us, how you got to where you are today. What did you have to let go of?
Wow, that's a powerful question. And I wish it was with some wine and, involved in this, but no, listen, I'll give you a very simple answer, and I'll start with bulleted points, right? Which is, I came here from my country of Colombia when I was 5. I came here illegally. I was an immigrant myself, right? And then I'm a surviving child of having crossed the Mexican border. What else do I tell you? I've lived on my own since I was 14. So I feel that life handed me all of these opportunities to become a victim. And boy, was I a victim. I mean, I was a victim, and I owned it, and I said, feel sorry for me, because this is what happened to me and I didn't ask for it. But man, that gets exhausting at some point. And being a victim to my life, to my story, was only bringing more opportunities to become a victim. Mm-hmm. And so when I recognized that space, I said, what if I started changing my story on my terms? What if I became the literal and figurative author of my story, and then started showing up different? And I'm a very big, believer in energy. And the minute that I started showing up to life with positivity, with a little bit of just outside of the box thinking and saying, what if I have the ability to become successful? What if I don't have to, be the pity recipient of everything? That's when my life started changing. All of a sudden, like all these little by little opportunities started knocking on my door. I started smiling more, even through like hardships, because like I said, I go through my days too. Last week, I was dragging wings, like I said. I was dragging them and I had to lean on people to help me get back up. And, because it was one thing after another. So things do happen to me, but I always have to revert back to this is where my life started. I mean, my life started as a really, rough, traumatic journey, and I'll never go back to that. So whatever it is that I have in front of me is doable. I can get through this. I can muster through it. I can find a way to figure out, the solution, because the alternative would be where I started and I'll never get back there again,
Great, powerful story. And, everyone loves to play the victim, and there is no, like, you can choose to not play the victim and take your power back and change your story and change your life. But as long as you sit there and hang out in that victim mode, you're just going to be living in the pity party and nothing is going to change. So I love that you are a perfect example of making the choice to step out of the victim mode, even though you had every reason to just stay there and wallow in it. But
Right.
you recognized that the only solution was to step out of victim mode.
Life will always hit us in one way or another, and nobody is shunned from it. Everybody has those times in their lives, some more than others, where life is hitting you really hard. But again, it's how you look at it, right? It's the infamous saying, is it happening to me or is it happening for me? And I really started to adapt a mindset that said it's happening for me, because this is making me stronger, more resilient, smarter, more, creative with my life. And I think that I know that sometimes it's easier said than done, but it's not the hardest thing you'll ever do. The hardest thing you'll ever do is fighting for the role of staying a victim. That is the hardest role you'll ever, take on, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot for you to sit there and say, oh, life is hitting me so hard. It takes a lot more than for you to get up and say, you know what, I'm going to change this. I want to change my life.
And I will say, a lot of people, and I speak from experience, right? I've been through it. It's this what I always describe as the separation between your brain and your mind. Like I feel like my brain is like that saber-toothed tiger caveman brain that's like clinging to the story, because there's comfort in the familiar, even if the familiar is really, really horrible and terrible things that are always happening to you, right? But you have this mind, you have this crystal clear mind that can choose and that can say, I recognize that these things happen to me and I'm not invalidating them. I don't pretend that they didn't exist. They absolutely happened. And probably you've given it enough attention, right? I'm not saying don't feel the feel, but don't let it bring down your life. Don't let it kill your potential. Don't let it become your story, right? Because we all know trauma is stored in the body. All of a sudden you start getting all these aches and pains, one thing leads to another. Before you know it, you've compiled all of this trauma on top of each other, when really at the end of the day, it just boils down to a decision, right? And talking to all of you out there, like if you don't know how to do that and you feel like in your shit, you've got 3 people right here ready, willing, and able to help you. Like we all put content out. We all have, like, even if you don't want to actually reach out, just watch all our shit and it will get you going, because there is a way out. And, not being a victim doesn't mean dismissing what happened. It doesn't mean that you don't hold people accountable. It doesn't mean that, that it wasn't important. Yeah, it was important. Yeah, it was a big deal. It was a big thing that happened in your life, but you don't have to continue to live with it. You can carry it. You can bring it with you everywhere you go, but you can do it from a space of feeling empowered and not feeling down about it.
No, and something I'll add to that, because you said it beautifully. The other component to that is you're not alone in this process. I love the fact that you just invited viewers to reach out, to tap into, to listen to, right? Because I've seen all of your posts and I take mine with heavy responsibility, because again, what are you putting out there for people? Is it the negative gloom and doom, or is it an inspiring component where they can reach out, feel like they can connect to you? And I opt for the latter, right? Because I think it's important. It's a responsibility.
And we're all here to lift each other up. A part of what we're doing here is, we've heard so many stories of the past of, women stepping on other women to crawl their way to the top. And that's not the way we do things anymore. There's room for all of us at the top, and we're here to reach out a hand. And, if you're not sure how to get to where you want to go, there's plenty of us here that are ready, willing, and able to help you. And,
Well, if I can add something to that, and I'm going to put you on the spot, Miss Graciela, because Graciela was that person for me. Graciela and I go back a few years now, and man, she gave me a stage, literally and figuratively, when I needed one. She, was there to say, "Hey, girl, let me figure out who to connect you with, who to do that." And it's very seldom that you find women like that, because unfortunately there are some women out there that are caught up in their own inhibitions, their own fears, that don't allow them to help the other person. But Graciela stepped up to the plate, and she goes like this: "Hey, listen, my resources are your resources. How do we work together, and how do I help elevate you?" And I commend you for that. And Juliet, I know we just recently met, but if you're connected with Graciela, I'm sure you're, like minds think alike, right?
And congratulations to you for taking every opportunity presented to you, because I see you and I see that you find a way to take every opportunity to create yourself. Like, you're constantly creating yourself. And I love every iteration of you. Like, I really do. It's just amazing. And I do want you to talk about your book a little bit. I do want you to share that, because I see a little bit of the cover behind you. Yeah, there we go. Can you hold it up just so people see it?
Back there. I don't know if you can see.
There you go.
Out of center, but
what's it called again?
It's called "Without a Voice: A Woman's Journey to Resiliency," and I launched it back in 2020 when we all needed a little bit of a resilient story. And it depicts my story from how I got here to everything that I went through, but I did it with the intention of also keeping the reader in mind, because they are investing time in you. So I can sit there and talk about myself all day long, but what are they taking away from it? So half of the book is, yes, this is what happened to me, and you're going to be shocked and in awe and crying and, mustering through to hold yourself through. But the middle to the end is, what did I do with what happened to me? So that if you can relate to any given point of my story, then you can grab that tool and use it to, find yourself out of your situation or your challenge as well. And I did a soft launch this year of the Spanish version, which is called El Silencio de mi Voz. And right now putting together a tour starting in my home country of Colombia, potentially at the beginning of next year, so that a lot of my fellow Colombians and Latin Americans can relate to it, saying, "My God, I went through that too, and if she's okay, maybe I could be okay, or if she figured out a way, I can figure out a way." So it's a powerful story, and I'm really blessed, honestly, to be able to share it with people.
That's amazing. Yeah, we talk about this all the time too, that the underlying truths of everything are the same everywhere in the world. We see a lot of people, trying to, separate, and, our people are different than your people. And yes, there are cultural differences, but when you get down to the overlying truths of the world, they're the same everywhere you go.
Yeah.
And, I was very blessed as when I was in high school, my family, we hosted foreign exchange students. And then I was a foreign exchange student. I went and lived in Venezuela for a year. And it really, that's one gift that I'm like, please, people, go see the world so that you can understand that a human heart is the same everywhere on this planet. And, if we could just bring more love around the globe and recognize ourselves as humans instead of, Americans and this is and that's, we're
Yeah.
all humans.
Yeah. And it's important that to acknowledge that there's a lot of contributions from everybody, and it's not about whether you came from, another country or not. I am, eternally grateful to be able to be here, even as I show up as an immigrant. I mean, don't get me wrong, I am legal now and I'm here and I'm able to stay here. But what I'm saying is I will always be the face of an immigrant. And because of that, I take that responsibility to heart, in that I have to not only give back to this beautiful country that allowed me to become who I am today, but to help the people that are here, whether they're American or not American. When clients come to my office or when people schedule a call with me, I don't say, where do you come from? No, I said, how can I help you? How can I serve you? Because that's the question there and that's the answer. How can I serve you? And then if you show up that way, you're not worried about where people are from. It's how can I serve you and how can my toolbox help yours?
Beautiful. And I love, you're talking about serving. I mean, we're all here to serve. It doesn't matter what your job is. And if you're struggling with your job, if you can really step back and look at how are you in service to the world with what you're doing. And if you can't find any service in what you're doing, you're in the wrong thing, because every job that's out there is a service. And when you connect to that, and the other thing I like to do is serving is really loving. When you serve, you are loving. And being in service, it shouldn't just be being in service to others. You are also being in service to yourself. So it goes both ways.
We talk a lot about, the better you treat yourself, the more it inspires and gives women permission to do the same, and so like that's why I think I'm such a big fan of watching your posts, because every time you're like, took the Jeep for a ride today, I'm like, oh yeah, I get to have fun too. Or you're like, my son accomplished this amazing thing, I'm like, oh yeah, my kids too. You know what I mean? Like, and it feels really good to like say, wow, you're right, I can acknowledge these things and I can feel good and I can take a little mini vacation and I can have a great brunch somewhere. And even if you can't, you can like cut fruit up in your house and go sit in your backyard and enjoy it. Like, you can find joy anywhere. But, I think, like, don't get caught up in, did you volunteer at the soup kitchen this week? It doesn't even have to be that complicated. Are you showing up to work every day joyfully? If you do that, you're doing me a favor, right? Like, think of all the places that you go to where you get like horrible customer service. Like, that's affecting the people that you're serving. But man, when that barista or whoever is like, hey, good morning, like, and you feel good about it, man, you impacted me as much as if you were at the soup kitchen, right? Like, don't close yourself off,
Exactly. And that's it right there. You can't worry about everybody else, but you can worry about yourself. That's the only person you can control. And I love what you said, because yeah, it makes a huge difference how it affects, how it has ripple effects, right? If there is a disgruntled employee, which is why I have the business that I have, right? If you have a disgruntled employee that you have overshadowed or you haven't even paid attention to, that's how they're reflecting your business. And you might as well just, have any Joe Schmo, as a forward-facing people for your company, because you've got to pay attention to that. If they're not happy, you're right. Either they don't belong there or they haven't been seen, heard, and valued. Either way, I can help. But what I'm saying is, you have a responsibility yourself to be accountable for yourself, right? And taking care of yourself is the only person you can take care of. I always talk about, and Graciela, you've heard me say this, about the little you inside. Oh, I let Erika take the helm all the time. Like, little Erika says she wants to play, well, she wants to play, and we're going to listen to her. And then it gives me an excuse to take, quote unquote, a break from being an adult and allowing my little young self to, find what she wants. We all have that little girl or that little boy inside that didn't get this or never had the opportunity to do that. So instead of blaming your parents or blaming life or whatever, don't just do it, right? You know, I'm constantly shopping on Etsy, finding all these toys that I never had because of, you know, for XYZ reason. And I got a closet full of toys that little Erika gets all the time, you know, and I do that same work with my clients, and you'd be surprised the difference that it makes. Because they're like, I never thought of it that way. It's like, yeah, that little girl sitting there like, hello, where are you?
It's
you
so
know,
true.
Remember me?
I remember in my 20s, I was working at a law firm, and for my birthday, they gave me a Snoopy snow cone machine, and I just about cried because I was like, oh my God, I've been wanting a Snoopy snow cone machine my entire life. Like, and we sat there making snow cones, and it was like a $15 thing, right? But like, what did you say? Seen, heard, valued, seen, heard, valued. I'm like, that was worth more to me than any fancy lunch, you know? And I still have it. So snow cone party.
That being said, I think you need to bring the snow cone machine to the studio for one of our events.
You will see how happy it makes you to just turn that little wheel and use that little shovel. It's so cute.
Oh, awesome. This show has been great and filled with all kinds of juicy nuggets for our family. You are our family listeners. Woo. And but I'm curious, do you have one more juicy nugget you'd like to gift our audience, Erika?
Listen, this has been pretty powerful but fun, and I knew to expect that if I was going to be on a podcast with the both of you. But I commend you for what you're doing, because you're keeping it real. You are giving voices to people and giving them the opportunity and the permission to just show up as is, right? Just it is what it is. When you guys started, or when you ladies started the podcast, you were talking about aging and and how it sucks, and because we have all these things to worry about that we didn't have to worry about before. We shared something personal before that I was just like, wow, that just actually happened. But I'll tell you, one of the things that I really hold true is that age is a mentality, right? And if you sit in that mentality, you're no different than the victim role, right? But we just kind of take things with how they show up. And then again, anytime you have something that is related to age, just let the little you help, take care of it. She'll figure out how to make you feel better, right? And like I said, I have a bunch of things that are happening now that I'm like, little Erika, how do you want to handle this? You want ice cream? Okay, we're going to go get ice cream.
I love it.
Ice cream makes everything better.
Yes.
So beautiful. Thank you for spending time with us, Erika. I cannot tell you what an absolute gift you are to us, to our audience. And those of you out there listening, please join us in the Circle of the Goddess Facebook group. Erika, I believe, is in there, and I know she would be happy to connect with you and answer questions, and you can figure out how to work with her there and all kinds of goodness.
Thank you for joining us today, Erika. It has been a pleasure having you. And our editors are going to have a hard time picking out just a couple, because there are so many nuggets in this show that they could turn into shorts for us. So they are going to have their work cut out for them to choose the special 2 or 3 that they normally pick. So, all right. Have a magical day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us today and keeping us in the top 10% of podcasts in the world. Ask us how you can promote your business on this podcast as a sponsor, and make sure you check out the show notes for details on how to get in touch with Julieta, Graciela, or today's special guest.
We're sending you lots of love and gratitude. Have a magical day.